Hello, Bubblies. It's me, Jen, your TV watching and talking host of this podcast, My Streaming Bubble, where I talk about the streaming entertainment I love with the people I tolerate, usually. I am back with a minisode, but instead of sharing something that I've watched recently, or maybe a handful of things I've recently watched, because I'm still just watching my same 8 horror movies and Sailor Moon. Don't judge me, or judge me. I don't fucking care. But instead of sharing anything new I've watched, I thought I would share some of the books that I've read this summer. And since I do audiobooks, this still counts as streaming because I'm streaming audiobooks from Libby. And I do refer to reading audiobooks as reading. And I'm not going to argue fucking semantics. If you prefer to say you listened to an audiobook, that's great. I'm super happy for you. But do not be the asshole that corrects anybody else. That is ableist, and it's just fucking rude. No one wants to hear it. We all know that technically it's listening, but let's be honest. No one truly gives a fuck, except for people that are up their own ass or something. I don't fucking know. But that just really bothers me. And my whole thing is that if a person who is blind or otherwise hard of seeing, if they were to read a book in Braille, are you going to correct them and say they didn't read it, they felt it, or they rubbed it? I don't fucking think so. And if you do, you're fucking weird. So let's start this episode off with me just attacking people. All right. So with that, now that I got that out of the way, so I'm sharing the books that I read over the summer as part of our summer reading program. And at the library that I work at, for the adults, we offer an adult bingo. Each square is different genres to try and get you out of your comfort zone. And if you read in a bingo, then you get a book of your choice. And then there's also like a goodie bag that the adults can win. So like the more squares they complete, the more chances to win the goodie bags. And the goodie bags are usually like a cute little tote bag with some fun library, bookie, accessories, notebooks, pens, stickers, what have you. Just kind of some fun stuff. I always do the book bingo because I at least want my free book. I don't need to participate in the drawing for the goodie bag because I don't want to take that away from the patrons. Although in the past years, they were really super cute. And I'm like, I want one. But no, they are for the patrons. I will get my free book and I'll be happy about that. And yes, I actually will get a book. And I actually do own physical books. Most of them are going to be nonfiction books. I like having the reference books around in case I just need to grab it and flip through, check the table of contents. Check the table of contents and or the index to see what I'm looking for and find it and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because I was actually thinking about it the other day, and even when I was younger and I grew up in Iowa City, and when I would go to the library there, I still went straight to the nonfiction area. I remember sitting there and reading all sorts of books about like dog care, training dogs, different dog breeds. So, because I grew up with dogs in a dog house and now I'm a cat person. What? So the book that I have chosen for my free book, it's called, let me find the title quick. Witch Queens, Voodoo Spirits, and Hoodoo Saints by Denise Alvarado. And I checked that out last summer. I listened to the audiobook because I don't know shit about the difference, truly the distinguishable differences. I know there's a difference, but I don't know truly like the details and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. I found it to be very informative, and I love how they're kind of broken down, how they're talked about, how they're represented in shows and movies, and how it's usually some sort of like an amalgamation of maybe a voodoo spirit and or a hoodoo saint. So I thought that was really interesting. And also, Nicolas Cage is literally mentioned in that book. And I fucking love that so much. So that tells me right off the bat, I need to own this book. So that will be my free book since I did read my bingo. But I wanted to share some of the books that I used as part of the bingo. There are some nonfiction books that were on there. I will not be talking about those today. One of the squares is like read a young adult or children's book. And I did read a children's book because it was a new book that we got at the library. And I thought I had it written down, but I must have deleted it because I was like, I'm not going to talk about it. But it's called The Wise Pickle. And it's by Sarah Howden, I believe, something like that. Please hold. Yep. The Wise Pickle by Sarah Howden. It was really cute and kind of fun and silly. It's a very wise pickle. It's kind of weird, but I enjoyed it. But all right. On to the books that I have read this summer to get a bingo. I was still kind of a turd and still read mostly horror, except for the nonfiction categories, because I'm just such a brat. Don't tell me what to read. Nah. But yeah, here's my book bingo books and kind of my general thoughts on them. So please be sure to check the episode description for timestamps of each book, as there will be spoilers. I will also note which ones will have spoilers because some may not. I'm not entirely sure how far I'm going to go with some of these books, but I do know a handful of them will have spoilers for sure. All right, so first up was for the Your Choice, one of the Your Choice squares. I read episode 13 by Craig DiLouie. And let's go ahead and get the book description here somewhere. There it is. From the macabre mind of a Bram Stoker award-nominated author, this heart-pounding novel of horror and psychological suspense takes a ghost-hunting reality TV crew into a world they could never have imagined. Fade to Black is the newest hit ghost hunting reality TV show. Led by husband and wife team Matt and Clara Kirkland, it delivers weekly hauntings investigated by a dedicated team of ghost hunting experts. Episode 13 takes them to every ghost hunter's holy grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. This brooding derelict mansion holds secrets and clues about bizarre experiments that took place there in the 1970s. It's also famously haunted, and the team hopes their scientific techniques and high-tech gear will prove it. But as the house begins to reveal itself to them, proof of an afterlife might not be everything Matt dreamed of. A story told in broken pieces, in tapes, journals, and correspondence, this is the story of episode 13 and how everything went terribly, horribly wrong. So, general thoughts on this book, I fucking loved it. It's basically found footage as a book. It has a handful of narrators, so that definitely helps to distinguish from the different characters, as there are quite a few of them. And then, like the description says, it's kind of intertwined with old tape recordings, medical files, stuff like that. And when I read an audiobook, I picture it as though it's playing like a movie. So this was very much, I was so fucking giddy with this one. As soon as I realized it was like a found footage book, I was like, I got so fucking giddy and giggly. And I was like, I'm probably going to love it no matter what. And I did. And it's also a pretty good story. As someone who watches a lot of found footage, I wouldn't say it's anything I haven't experienced, but also not to say that it is like boring or stale or repetitive or anything like that. I thought this was fantastic. And again, with a cast of narrators doing different voices, there's sound effects, there's music, because this haunting from this like survivors of the 70s or whatever, there's like a song that plays as like the shit gets scary and haunty and everything. Takes them to like different timelines or whatever. It's fucking wild. And I absolutely loved it. in some ways, there are parts of it that reminded me of Grave Encounters, more so the second one than the first one. And that's just kind of because some of the things that, with the house or the buildings kind of being alive and changing and just fucking with these people. And then also with kind of like the 70s aspect and some of this like experimenting on people and shit going on, it reminded me of Dyatlov Pass or the Devil's Pass, found footage about a group of people going to try and figure out what happened to the group on Dyatlov Pass. And if you aren't familiar with that incident, basically some hikers or whatever were climbing Dyatlov Pass. I don't know, but they were found dead. I don't want to go into too many details because that's not what this podcast is about, but very interesting story. Or not story per se, but the incident that inspired the movie Devil's Pass or that other word. But in that movie, The Devil's Pass, the way it kind of ends and there's like time jumps and experimentations, some like alien shit too. So that's what episode 13 kind of reminded me of, was a little bit of those two things and kind of, I don't want to say like your standard or run of the mill ghost hunting found footage movie, but for lack of better words, because we know I struggle bigly. That was gross. I can't believe I said that. I hate myself. All right. So I believe this book is on the new shelf. Since I got it through Libby, I can't really tell. Doesn't really have it categorized as like new release. But from what I could tell in the library system, all the physical copies are on hold or checked out. And that tells me that it is a new release book. And one library does have it in their new release section. So based on that, I'm just going to go with that this is a new release. Even though it came out last year, that doesn't necessarily mean libraries got it right away. All right. So this one is going to have some spoilers because I have questions. All right. So We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer, Kliewer. From an author destined to become a titan of the macabre and unsettling, a haunting debut soon to be a Netflix original movie about two homeowners whose lives are turned upside down when the house's previous residents unexpectedly visit. As a young queer couple who flip houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal they've just gotten on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working in the house one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived there years before and asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in. As soon as the strangers enter their home, inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Even more weird, the family can't seem to take the hint that their visit should be over. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family. Or is Eve just imagining things? I really enjoyed this book, but the ending, and I did really like the ending because there's kind of like I don't know if it was truly like an epilogue or just the final chapter, but because, in the synopsis, it says that Charlie goes missing. She does in Eve's world. So they are separated and we don't know where Charlie truly is. But the way the book ends, it's so fucking devastating. And I absolutely love a fucking devastating downer ending. But I still have so many questions. So this family comes and they're just like, yep, we used to live here. Take a look around. Daughter gets lost, yada, yada, yada. Family's acting super fucking weird. They are ultra religious. They're doing a technology cleanse or something, so they don't have cell phones or anything like that. The house is out in the middle of the woods, and just not a lot of folks around. But yeah, the family's there and they're going around, and the daughter gets lost. The daughter at one point calls Eve Emma, and the husband starts talking about like, oh, that was his sister, blah, 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 blah. You look kind of like her, this and that. And then all this weird, crazy shit starts to slowly happen. And Eve is starting to question her reality and everything. And I really liked the Eve character. I found her to be fairly relatable. I liked her kind of attitude and her gruffness with the family once it kind of got to a point of, what the fuck are you still doing here? Her tendency to maybe overreact or be a little overdramatic about things. So then knowing that, then sometimes Charlie's kind of like, are you sure? Are you sure this isn't like this past situation where you blew something out of proportion? So Eve kind of struggles with that a little bit back and forth throughout the book. And I really, really like that because it just kind of adds to that uncertainty of what the fuck is going on. So then at one point, let me see how I want to try and word this. All right. So nope, not Charlie. So Eve wakes up one morning, Charlie's not there. But there's all these kind of clues that like, where could she have gone? She wouldn't have just like up and left. And this traveling family is like, oh yeah, no, she said she went into town to grab some stuff, blah, blah, blah. Why? Don't fucking listen to them. But Eve's very, very suspicious. Some more weird, crazy shit starts to happen. And Eve is ready to leave the house. She's like, fuck this place. I don't want to stay here no more. I got to go find Charlie, this and that. And she's finally got the family to leave. And there was a whole kind of kerfuffle that involved the child, one of the kids from the traveling family, and Eve and Charlie's dog. Dog's fine. And so as the family is leaving, we see Charlie, we don't see, but Charlie comes pulling up. Eve sees the dad talking to Charlie, kind of telling her what's going on. Eve's freaking out like, oh my God, what's he telling her? Blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I'm like, I don't believe that's fucking Charlie. Long story short, it wasn't Charlie. So Charlie's phone rings. They're staying in some motel. Charlie's phone rings in the middle of the night. Eve sees it ringing, hears it ringing. She looks and it's saying that Eve is calling. So she's like, what the fuck? And she answers and it's Charlie. And Charlie just sounds kind of like, ugh. And she's like, don't come back to the house. Don't come back to the house. It's bad. Fuck those people, this and that. And so, of course, Eve's like, I got to go back to the house. This woman's not Charlie. And there's been other kind of little hints throughout the story that these people may not be who they say they are. So Eve got that. So Eve answers the call. She's like, well, I have to go back. I have to save Charlie. I have to go get our dog. That's my family. Those are the people. Those are the beings that I love the most. So instead of heeding Charlie's warning, she goes back to the house. She ends up finding Charlie there. The basement turns into some big labyrinth, mazy kind of thing. Almost like episode 13, where the house seems to kind of keep rebuilding itself or shifting around. And she finds Charlie like in the basement of this labyrinth or whatever, just looking decrepit. Not like she's only been there a couple of days, but more like she's been there for several years. And then there's some really gross stuff that happens with Charlie and a bunch of ants that just had me like, ugh! But, and this is one of my big fucking questions here. When Eve shows up to save Charlie, Charlie's response was, you're not supposed to be here yet. Yet? That was never addressed. What the fuck? So then you kind of find out, there's the dad of this family. I don't even think we get a true explanation as to who or what he is. Something old, something ancient, I think. But basically, he's kind of going around and snatching folks up and making them his family members. So we find out his wife isn't really his wife, because at one point even Paige is the wife's name. They're talking and she's like, oh, I never used to be religious. It wasn't until I met him and he kind of converted me. I had kind of a wild past until then. So as Eve's kind of putting things together-ish, kind of figuring out that, yeah, these might not be his actual family members. He might have like kidnapped, stolen, brainwashed him, what have you. Because by the end of the book, Eve is being introduced as Emma, the guy's sister. She's like, I'm not Emma, I'm Eve. And everyone's like, oh, Emma, we thought you were better, blah, 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 all this other shit. And Eve knows that something's not right and she's in some weird fucking reality alternate universe or something. And she's almost, I don't want to say she's almost like buying it. She's still holding on to the fact that like this isn't real, but it's getting harder for her to do so. But she's sticking with it. She's like, I am not Emma, I am Eve. And at one point near the end, the dad/brother of Emma, I can't remember that guy's name. I'm sorry. But he comes down to where Emma is, where Eve is, and gives her something. And it's Charlie's necklace. Charlie has a necklace. It's a locket, and it's got like one of the only existing pictures of Eve in it. So by him giving that to her, he is admitting that this is not her reality. And she's stuck there. And then it cuts to that final kind of epilogue-y chapter with Charlie looking for Eve. One minute her partner's there, the next minute she's not. She's trying to figure it out, trying to find her and all of this. And then basically the book is over. So I had questions. Mostly, what did Charlie mean by, you're not supposed to be here yet? Doing some Googling, I cannot determine for surezies if this book is going to get a sequel or if it's going to be part of like a trilogy, or if we're just kind of going to be stuck and left to our own interpretations, which that's fine too. But I really want to know what the fuck Charlie meant with you're not supposed to be here yet. It has been driving me cuckoo bananas for a couple of weeks now, because that's when I finished it. I finished it on July 25th. So yeah, we used to live here. And I did really enjoy it. Like I said, I liked the characters, but I think I'm just a little too hung up on the whole, what the fuck? All right, so I did not expect to take that long with we used to live here, but I was trying to explain just enough so I could tell you why, just express my like, what did Charlie mean? So I'm going to try and get through it as many more as I can. I have several written down, but I might not be able to get to all of them today, and I might have to do another mini bubble. And maybe I'll just make this a part of a rotation, like, you know, my bookie bubble. Add that into like the rotation of episodes, of minisodes. So I do need to talk about The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro, because this book was fucking amazing. I used this book under the category of a book with a great cover because I thought the cover was beautiful. I loved it. I will say that this book does deal pretty heavily with like generational trauma, colonization, systemic oppression. I mean, this is just right there in the book synopsis. Motherhood, postpartum depression. So some pretty heavy topics, but I thought V. Castro did an amazing job with it. And I loved how she kind of mixes in the lore, the legend and lore of La Llorona. Just, I loved it so much. And there's also a moment where there's like a reclamation of oneself. So she kind of loses who she is through life, wife, mother, all of that, and kind of hits a point of like, fuck that, and decides to more or less take care of herself. So, but here's the synopsis because I went ahead and gave my general thoughts on it. A woman is haunted by the Mexican folk demon La Llorona in this utterly terrifying and wholly immersive story about generational trauma, colonization, systemic oppression, and the horror at the heart of motherhood. Alejandra no longer knows who she is. To her husband, she is a wife, and to her children, a mother. To her own adopted mother, she is a daughter, but they cannot see who Alejandra has become, a woman struggling with a darkness that threatens to consume her. Nor can they see what Alejandra sees. In times of despair, a ghostly vision appears to her, the apparition of a crying woman in a ragged white gown. When Alejandra visits a therapist, she begins exploring her family's history, starting with the biological mother she never knew. As she goes deeper into the lives of the women in her family, she learns that heartbreak and tragedy are not the only things she has common with her ancestors. Because the crying woman was with them too, she is La Llorona, the vengeful and murderous mother of Mexican legend. And she will not leave until Alejandra follows her mother, her grandmother, and all the women who came before her into the darkness. But Alejandra has inherited more than just pain. She has inherited the strength and courage of her foremothers, and she will have to summon everything they have. And she will have to summon everything they have given her to banish La Llorona forever. This is why I also read audiobooks, because I can't read words for shit. I can't say words for shit. And after 6 years of this podcast, I think we know that. Yeah. Gave my general thoughts on it. Nothing too spoilery there, but I loved this book. I thought it was so good and so heartbreaking at times, but the ending was fantastic. So another one that I had gotten through Libby, and it's so funny because when I got the notification that this hold was ready, I was like, where the fuck did this come from? I don't remember putting this on hold. Where did I get this author's name? What in the hell? I figured out that, so I had read a book, Why I Love Horror, and it's a bunch of horror authors writing kind of essays as to why they love horror. Fantastic. And a lot of great horror writers in there, some that I was already familiar with and some that I was not. For each chapter of each author, at the beginning, they say, like, you know, if you haven't read Grady Hendrix books, start with this one. If you have and you're looking for something similar, here's an author that is similar. So that's where I got Daniel Krauss's name. And then looking at it on Libby and kind of reading the synopsis, that I must have was like, all right, fine, we'll do this one. Because I really don't know. Other than just, having jotted down his name. So Daniel Krauss wrote the book Angel Down. The critically acclaimed author of the crazily enjoyable Whalefall returns with an immersive cinematic novel about 5 World War I soldiers who stumble upon a fallen angel that could hold the key to ending the war. Private Cyril Bagger has managed to survive the unspeakable horrors of the Great War through his wits and deception. But his survival instincts are put to the ultimate test when he and 4 other grunts are given a deadly mission: venture into the perilous no man's land to euthanize a wounded comrade. What they find amid the ruined battlefield, however, is not a man in need of mercy, but a fallen angel seemingly struck down by artillery fire. This celestial being may hold the key to ending the brutal conflict, but only if the soldiers can suppress their individual desires and work together. As jealousy, greed, and paranoia take hold, the group is torn apart by their inner demons, threatening to turn their angelic encounter into a descent into hell. Angel Down plunges you into the heart of World War I and weaves a polyphonic tale of survival, supernatural wonder, and moral conflict. And boy, does it. I really enjoyed this one. I think a lot of it had to do with the narrator and just kind of like reading the story with that almost like panicky feeling, anxiety, kind of on edge that you would probably be in the middle of a war that you don't want to be in. Also, and I obviously didn't know this from the audiobook, I read this later, this book is written as a continuous sentence, just commas, no periods. And again, the narration does a fantastic job putting that like actualizing that with words and a voice. God, that sounds so dumb, but I think you guys know what I mean. And definitely sometimes of like panic of like, oh my God. And again, that's just like this hurt certain parts. The narrator picks up his pace, that panicked, hurried tone. Amazing. So this one I put down under historical fiction since it took place during World War I. A really great book. I did not expect to enjoy that book as much as I did, but I'd have to say that is definitely, as of right now, that might be, I mean, definitely in the top 10, possibly top 5 that I've read this year. So that was Angel Down by Daniel Krauss. All right. So another category on the bingo card was Western. Blech. I'm not a fan of Western as a genre. It's fine, but no thanks. Like I don't go running to them, but I do sort of kind of actively avoid them. But I do think Westerns are a great setting and backdrop for horror and sci-fi and just wild shit like that. So I found a couple of horror Westerns. First one that I read was Unbury Carol by Josh Malerman. And I love Josh Malerman. Incidents Around the House, number 1 Josh Malerman book for me. Pearl is number 2. Like, holy shit. So I love wild, unhinged Josh Malerman. Bird Box can fuck off. Fucking hated that book. The book was fine, but goddamn, Mallory sucks. So I was pretty excited to see what was going to go on with Unbury Carol. Apparently, this was named one of the best books of the year by Newsweek. Carol Evers is a woman with a dark secret. She has died many times, but her many deaths are not final. They are comas, a waking slumber indistinguishable from death, each lasting days. Only 2 people know of Carol's eerie condition. One is her husband, Dwight, who married Carol for her fortune, and, when she lapses into another coma, plots to seize it by proclaiming her dead and quickly burying her alive. The other is her lost love, the infamous outlaw, James Moxie. When word of Carol's dreadful fate reaches him, Moxie rides the trail again to save his beloved from an early, unnatural grave. And all the while awake and aware, Carol fights to free herself from the crippling darkness that binds her, summoning her own fierce will to survive as the players in this drama of life and death fight to decide her fate. Carol must, in the battle... What? Did I read that dumb? Okay, let me try that again. As the players in this drama of life and death fight to decide her fate, Carol must, in the end, battle to save herself. I did read that dumb. The haunting story of a woman literally bringing herself back from the dead, Unbury Carol is a twisted take on the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale that will stay with you long after you've turned the page. Now, I do agree with that because I was disappointed in this one. I will say that, and I ended up finding like an article or a blog post, I should say, from a few years ago when this book first came out that perfectly describes how I feel about it. And I will be sure to post that link into the episode description because that person does a much better job articulating how I felt and how I feel about this book. But pretty much amazing world building. I really like the characters. Dwight's such a piece of shit. He was so much fun to hate. James Moxie was a badass and you loved rooting for him. There's a mystery about this man from some legendary shootout and everything that I don't know that we ever truly get the answers for. I think we kind of do, and it's very disappointing. But I truly looked at this more as like a love story. I guess I don't... there's the super... I don't know if this is truly a horror novel because I was rooting for the love. And while reading this, the world that James Moxie and Carol and Dwight all inhabit is basically Red Dead Redemption 2. Any Western is just going to take place in kind of that setting. So James Moxie had very much an Arthur Morgan vibe to him. Also kind of made him hot. But the ending was so odd and anticlimactic, and I almost don't want to give it away because if people do want to read it, I want to know what their take is. So I will just post the link in the episode description that does have a spoiler in it about the ending and how that blogger felt, which is pretty much exactly how I feel. So unfortunately, although Unburied Carol is still higher than Bird Box. The other horror Western that I read was Dead Man's Road by Joe R. Lansdale. And here is the description. Deadwood meets Cthulhu in this wild and profane Western romp featuring zombies, werewolves, evil spirits, and one pissed-off gunslinging preacher. The Wild West has never seen the likes of Reverend Jebediah Mercer, a hard man wielding a burning Bible in the battle between God and the devil, and in an endless struggle, he's not sure he cares who wins. Sorry, I read that dumb again. With its 5 stories laced with fast-paced action, nonstop humor, and spine-tingling horror, Dead Man's Road is your ride to hell, in which a vengeful shaman curses a town by conjuring a seemingly unstoppable army of the undead. An ill-advised shortcut leads to a bee's nest of terror. A man stands condemned, not for murdering his wife, but for raising the Lovecraftian horror that killed her. A woman is attacked by werewolves and left for dead in a ghost town. And a mining camp faces off with a horde of cannibalistic fiends. So I liked this one. I think I liked it a lot more than I initially gave it credit for. Definitely weird. Definitely weird Western. I guess that's kind of its own little subgenre. But I will say that the narrator was fantastic. He had a great voice. It was narrated by Stefan Rudnicki. And I mean, just a great voice for a Western narration. So while I did enjoy it, I didn't love it, but I'm not mad that I read it. All right, I think the last one I'm going to do today is, oh God, because then there's Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer and Serial Killer Support Group by Saratoga Schaefer. Maybe I'll just do their books in a separate mini bubble because I love those two so much. That's all you need to know. All right. Okay, so the last one that I will talk about today, I used it under the Your Choice, and this one was So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. And the summary, the synopsis for this book: a woman must learn to take life by the throat after a night out leads to irrevocable changes in this juicy, thrilling novel from the USA Today bestselling author of Such Sharp Teeth and Black Sheep. Black Sheep was also very good. Jesus. I'm going to have to take my talking privileges away. Sloane Parker is dreading her birthday. She doesn't need a reminder she's getting older or that she's feeling indifferent about her own life. Her husband surprises her with a birthday weekend getaway. Not with him, but with Sloane's longtime best friend, troublemaker extraordinaire Naomi. Sloane anticipates a weekend of wine tasting and cozy robes and strategic avoidance of issues she'd rather not confront, like her husband's repeated infidelity. But when they arrive at their rental cottage, it becomes clear Naomi has something else in mind. She wants Sloane to stop letting things happen to her, for Sloane to really live. So Naomi orchestrates a wild night out with a group of mysterious strangers, only for it to take a horrifying turn that changes Sloane's and Naomi's lives literally forever. The friends are forced to come to terms with some pretty eternal consequences in this bloody, seductive novel about how it's never too late to find satisfaction, even though it might taste different than expected. So I loved this book. This is like ride or die bestie life, literally forever. I will say Sloane kind of drove me nuts back, like here and there throughout the book. But in a way that like I never was like too irritated or annoyed with her because like it's totally understandable. So we're going to go ahead and give some spoilers for So Thirsty. So as you can probably tell, they encounter some vampires and they in order, and then, you know, they're partying with them, whatever. Naomi gets bit. is starting to bleed out or whatever. And Sloane's like, I can't, she's my best friend. Please save her. Please do something, do anything. And the vampires are like, well, this is your choice. And are you sure you want this? And she's not entirely sure what she has signed up for yet. But yeah, her and Sloane and Naomi become vampires. Naomi very much kind of like that party girl type, can talk with anybody, very confident, very outgoing. Sloane's a little more, she's like the introvert between the two. So Naomi's just kind of like, all right, cool, let's do this. And Sloane is still very hesitant. And so, but she's struggling with that. And it's totally understandable. But so it's like, I felt for her, but I also kind of wanted to shake her a little at times. But all in all, a really great book. I enjoyed it a lot. Loved the ending. It was phenomenal. This is very much like, go girl. Go girls, go boss. But I loved it. I thought, again, ride or die besties for life. Loved it. Sharp Teeth was also really good. Like I said, I read that. That was not part of the summer reading, but that was my first Rachel Harrison book. I've got a couple more coming, so maybe I will have to do a wrap up of Rachel Harrison books once I finish those. Because as soon as I find an author that I like or a book that I like, I will go and seek out that author and their other works. So that's how I've read almost all of Grady Hendrix's books, how I've read so many Josh Malerman books, so many Paul Tremblay books, a few Craig DiLouie books, now Rachel Harrison, and who knows who else. So, but that's going to be it for today. I will do a separate mini bubble going over Tradwife and Serial Killer Support Group by Saratoga Schaefer. If you've read either of those books, and you want to come into the bookie bubble and talk about them, let me know. That would be fantastic. I would love that. If you don't, that's fine too. I can clearly talk endlessly without needing another person there. So, yay me! Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. That is going to do it for me today. So please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you have any recommendations. Go ahead and post those in the comments. You can send an email to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. So until next time, my lovely bubblies, thank you all for listening and keep reading. Goodbye. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to let me know by rating and reviewing on a podcast player near you, and by sharing your favorite episodes with your friends, family, and mail carrier. Then be sure to follow me on all your favorite socials like Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search My Streaming Bubble and I should pop on up there for ya. If you have suggestions on what I should stream in my bubble next, or you want to be tolerated, send an email to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. Looking for merch? Stop by my Redbubble store where you can find and buy My Streaming Bubble stickers, hats, shirts, and more. You can also head over to buymeacoffee.com and, well, buy me a coffee. Need more podcast me in your life? Then be sure to check out my other podcast, Twin It to Win It. That's a monthly podcast that I co-host with my podcast brain twin, Erin from It's a Fandom Thing, where we test our twinningness by trying to guess if we both feel the same way about different horror movies. You can find and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And most importantly, you can listen, rate, review, and share from most podcast players. Thank you for your support, and keep streaming. Goodbye.